Respected Khenpo, distinguished teachers, and all fellow students, good afternoon. First of all, on behalf of the entire faculty and all the students of the School of Education and Public Administration at Suzhou University of Science and Technology, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you who are here today. Taking this opportunity, since I see that there are quite a few friends from outside the university present, I'd like to give everyone a brief introduction to our university. Our university was first established in the early 1980s, formed by the merger of Suzhou Institute of Urban Construction and Environmental Protection and Suzhou Railway Teachers College. The two schools merged in 2001 to form the University of Science and Technology. Currently, the university covers 9 academic disciplines, including engineering, science, literature, and history, as well as philosophy, law, management, education, and the arts. Among these 9 academic disciplines, our School of Education and Public Administration is involved in 4 of them. There are 12 first-level master's degree programs, covering a total of 55 second-level master's degree programs. In the past 5 years, our college has contributed significantly to scientific research and talent cultivation. We've achieved notable results. In the past 2 years, we've received 6 National Social Science Fund projects and over a dozen provincial and ministerial level projects. In addition, we have won more than 10 provincial and ministerial level scientific research achievement awards. Our college is also committed to cultivating high-level professionals with a solid foundation, broad knowledge, innovative spirit, and practical abilities. We take it as our mission to train such application-oriented senior specialists. We adhere to an open approach to education and carry out various forms of academic exchange. Today, we are also very pleased to have invited Khenpo Rinpoche to have a unique academic exchange with the teachers and students of our college. Khenpo Rinpoche often mentions that university students should not only master crucial scientific and cultural knowledge, but also cultivate a golden heart of kindness to benefit all beings and serve society. Today's academic exchange on spiritual greening and a happy life will also deeply revolve around this central theme. We sincerely and profoundly thank Khenpo Rinpoche for graciously coming all this long way to give us this important public lecture. It should be said that Khenpo Rinpoche is a renowned contemporary Buddhist scholar, philanthropist, theorist, translator, and social activist. Khenpo Rinpoche is erudite and profoundly wise. His level of realization is unfathomable, and he is always modest in his daily life. He lives an extremely simple life and is wholeheartedly devoted to truly benefiting all beings. Now, let us warmly invite Khenpo Rinpoche to deliver this important academic lecture for us.
Today, I am pleased to be here at Suzhou University of Science and Technology to engage in an academic exchange with each and every one of you. I feel a profound sense of happiness and joy in my heart. The topic of our discussion today is spiritual greening and a happy life. Speaking personally, as a monastic, I have not paid any particular attention to the active pursuit of happiness in my life. To be honest, quite recently, various prominent online platforms and diverse media have been reporting on this topic. Concurrently, many journalists have been persistently asking what exactly a truly happy and fulfilling life is like. This topic has attracted a very great deal of attention across the entire country. At that particular time, I also deeply and repeatedly reflected inwardly. Was it that there was something wrong with me personally, or is it that we monastics simply do not concern ourselves with happiness? I cannot really say for sure. Overall, perhaps our mindset and our points of concern truly differ somewhat from those of people in the secular world. But regardless of these important considerations, I am also deeply aware that many of the esteemed scholars present here today are also extremely concerned about living a truly happy and fulfilling life. The school has put forward the topic of spiritual greening and a happy life. I truly believe that this is a valuable topic we can all carefully study together. First of all, everyone gathered here today undoubtedly knows that environmental protection actually includes both external and internal aspects. These are also referred to as external environmental protection and internal environmental protection. As for external environmental protection, I believe everyone present is very familiar with it. It refers to the protection of the entire natural environment. Compared to previous eras in this regard, From a macro perspective, our current era is doing quite well, especially in big cities. No matter where you go, everyone is still quite attentive to greening efforts. Except for a few remote places, the results are very satisfying, particularly in big cities, whether inside or outside campuses. Everyone knows that people have become increasingly aware of environmental protection. We humans truly live in the natural world, so the greening of our natural environment and the attention we pay to it are extremely important indeed. In this regard, when individuals cause damage to the environment, there is often widespread criticism from all sides. I think all of you present here have probably seen the movie Avatar before. In fact, it was one of the two most monumentally successful films in the career of its visionary director, James Cameron. This film directly stated that humanity absolutely must have the crucial concept and profound awareness of environmental protection. Moreover, every person has this responsibility and obligation. Otherwise, if humans act recklessly for their own interests, if we keep destroying the external environment for personal gain, in the end, people themselves will end up living very miserably. When we extend the meaning of environmental protection in this way, those of you who are present here may inevitably think deeply about whether we also truly need environmental protection within our very own minds. On this particular point, I think everyone here might be quite clear about it indeed. In some aspects of current education, how to learn knowledge, how to master scientific and technological knowledge, in this particular regard, whether it is in any given course, the content provided is exceptionally rich and comprehensive. But what are we lacking now? It's about how to conduct ourselves and interact with others, especially when it comes to thoroughly clearing out all of the accumulated inner garbage and emotional clutter. In this particular respect, compared to other academic subjects and fields of study, we should acknowledge that there is a significant lack of practical knowledge and understanding. Many undergraduate students, graduate students, and even doctoral students after they graduate, no matter what kind of professional workplace or industry they enter, they often find themselves feeling profoundly out of place. What exactly is the fundamental reason for this persistent issue? Because during the actual process of education and in the process of our own learning, it is evident that many people are not genuinely learning what we need for our lives, and consequently, they haven't acquired much of what is necessary for a meaningful existence. So as a Buddhist, no matter which specific school of thought I choose to go to, or when communicating with any intellectual or scholarly individual, I always ask, what is it that humanity needs most? What is most crucial right now? It's not just about mastering scientific and technological knowledge. More importantly, each person should, as taught in Buddhism, compassion, loving kindness, wisdom, and a genuine sense of gratitude, and so on. These essential virtues are more important, far more significant than any kind of purely intellectual knowledge. So now, I truly believe that while many of you here are acquiring knowledge, we might also deeply need to observe and understand our own minds and consider what kind of knowledge is most needed in society. At this time, we should reflect on our inner selves. Buddhism talks about greed, anger, ignorance, arrogance, and jealousy. These are called the 5 poisons. These are, one could truly say, the greatest and most profound poisons, the 3 or 5 poisons that most harm all humanity. When our hearts are filled with intense desire, no matter what kind of life we currently have, we won't be genuinely happy. At that precise moment, we feel like, I absolutely must have something. For example, some people habitually and constantly think, I absolutely must buy a phone. I absolutely must buy a car. I truly must buy a house. I must certainly find a loving partner. I must definitely have a very happy family. I must have this or that. This is one aspect of it. Our habits have made us feel like we need these things. But do you really need this kind of competitive mindset? Not necessarily. So at this point, everyone is walking down the same path. But those with wisdom might pause to observe their own mindset. When you examine your mindset, even though it's the 21st century now, it's almost impossible not to have the basic necessities of life, basic food, shelter, and so on. It's absolutely impossible. But in our daily lives, for most of us, the things that we often feel are absolutely necessary and truly indispensable, perhaps in many instances, are primarily driven by a very strong sense of competition. For example, when someone decides to buy a house, if I genuinely have absolutely nowhere to live, then I certainly do need a house. But for many people, it's because others have already bought one, my colleagues have already bought one, and my classmates have also bought one. And other people who are on the same level as me have already bought houses. If I don't have one here, it feels like I can't keep up with them, can't keep up with society. This particular mentality represents the most profoundly serious and pressing issue that we currently face. I have personally observed numerous college students, and they're actually completely different from college students in the past. Many college students in the past even had a lot of issues with things like food and clothing, but now many college students are all about comparing themselves to others. If someone else buys a really nice brand name outfit, I feel like I should have one too. If others have 2, 3, or 4 sets of clothes, I should have them too. Whatever kind of material wealth or possessions others may have, I genuinely want it as well. This is a kind of, in Buddhism, this is precisely called improper attention, a kind of irrational mindset. But this particular kind of mindset has already become a deeply ingrained part of our daily lives. This part of life, whether you're an adult or a child, has a certain impact on our entire process of starting a business or even just our daily work. It indeed has a very significant effect. As a teacher, truly guiding students is an important and unshirkable responsibility. This is the most important thing. But many teachers may not necessarily have enough time to teach or mentor students. Why is that? Because if you are in this position, you might be more focused on making money or seeking higher status and wealth. But these things may not necessarily bring you satisfaction. If you are not satisfied, you keep searching for more. In the process of constantly searching, we end up feeling exhausted throughout our entire lives, from elementary school, middle school, university, all the way to finally working. Even after starting work, we still keep searching. But what exactly are we searching for? Even up until death, we may never find what truly satisfies us. So now, I feel that whether you are a teacher or a student, sometimes we just go along with the current trends. Is that truly reasonable? Of course, sometimes we genuinely have no choice but to go along. But in the entire process, you should also deeply reflect on yourself and also carefully observe the people around you. Are the people around us truly searching for what their hearts genuinely desire? Do each of us really need to do this? Maybe some people actually don't need to in reality, but because others are searching, I have no choice but to search as well. It has become a very habitual pattern indeed now. At times like this, we may feel very, very miserable, to be honest with you. We truly feel that we are quite unfortunate, while others seem to have really good fortune. I once saw a Thai bhikkhu, monk, who had originally studied at Cambridge University in the UK. After graduating, he then went to Thailand to become a monk. When he first became a monk, every single day was an ascetic practice at the very beginning. He consistently sat on hard seats, and his diligent study of Buddhist teachings was extraordinarily strict. At that particular time, he constantly kept thinking deeply in his heart. This venerable old monk, this esteemed abbot, this wise elder, he always comfortably sat on the most plush and comfortable cushion, and all his elevated status, immense power, and vast learning, everything was at his own disposal, and he could arrange things however he truly liked. We ascetic monks were suffering greatly. At that time, he felt how miserable I am, and how very fortunate he is. He always thought this way. Later, as he continued his studies, he himself attained the status of a senior monk. When he reached the position of a senior monk, he had to manage the monastery and deal with many matters, big and small. He also had to look after his disciples and think about spreading the Dharma. His sense of responsibility grew heavier. He saw many young novices. He felt, I'm still suffering. These novices are so fortunate, so well off. At that time, he realized something. When a person is in their own position, you don't feel that this moment is particularly joyful. But when you switch your positions, you then truly feel that even that entire time was full of suffering. For example, some of the students sitting here, when you're studying, you might think that your teachers must be very happy. They have salaries, they have benefits, they have families, they have everything, cars of their own, houses of their own, and in every aspect of life they've already succeeded. But here I am, truly struggling through my daily studies every single day. I also bring a lot of pressure to my family in various ways. I seem so pitiful. We probably all have this kind of mindset, but when you found a job, when you actually become a teacher, or when you take on other adult responsibilities like starting a family and a career, when you have that sense of responsibility and you look back, now I have to take care of those who are above me and those who are below me. I have to look after myself and also consider my colleagues' feelings. Every single day I have so many different things to deal with. There's truly never an end to it. At times like this, you start to think how truly pure, how incredibly happy, how wonderfully free those students are who are just diligently studying. You start to feel sorry for yourself. So at this point, I truly wonder now, what is it that our hearts truly and deeply need? We need a profound sense of contentment. Can we truly escape from this kind of demanding work and the harsh reality now? No one can realistically do that, even if you become a monk. Some people often say that life at home is full of all kinds of troubles and difficulties. They think, maybe I'll become a monk, but it's the same even if you do. You might join a monastic community, but it's still the same there. You still have to cook for yourself, dress yourself, and do your own laundry. And you still have to study the scriptures and commentaries, and you will have your own hardships. In the past, there were a few people in our institute who were especially lazy and unwilling to work. They tried every possible way, thinking that life at home was especially painful. They wanted to become monks, but after ordaining, they still felt the same pressure. In fact, for someone who truly becomes a monk, the pressure should be even greater than for a layperson. Why is that exactly? Because a true monk truly has to see through his own personal attachments. Moreover, he must truly embody the spirit of Mahayana Buddhism and spread it throughout the world. This is certainly not a very simple or straightforward thing to do. Without a certain significant strength of mind, it is indeed very difficult to truly sustain this particular effort. At such times, even becoming a monk may not work for you, wherever you go, if you lack this inner strength. So I have been really thinking, what is it that we need most right now at this moment? It is to repeatedly reflect and observe, to receive some profound spiritual education from religion. This particular kind of spiritual education gradually and subtly influences you over an extended period of time. Your entire mindset truly becomes more gentle, more flexible, and significantly happier. The kind of unbearable suffering we once had in our hearts. Through the profound Buddhist concept of compassion, or through significant ideas like past and future lives and the fundamental law of cause and effect, etc. Once you truly grasp them, you will gradually become able to completely let go of many things. You certainly won't spend all your days blaming others or feeling utterly miserable. If you don't have this kind of mindset and only have theoretical knowledge, I think not only in school, but also when you are outside of school, in any social group, your life may not necessarily be happy or joyful. Nowadays, in some schools, the deeply concerning phenomenon of suicide is becoming more and more common. One of the significant and complex reasons why more and more students are tragically committing suicide is multifaceted. Some individuals simply cannot effectively handle their intense emotions. Some are profoundly dissatisfied with society, and some just cannot find a clear direction or purpose in their lives. I just recently heard someone say that at a university, a student tragically committed suicide. The primary reason for the student's tragic suicide was that he simply couldn't find the real, true answer to life. Actually, if the human mind, as profoundly described in Buddhist teachings, truly possesses an open, understanding and tolerant attitude, then in this world, there genuinely shouldn't be anything so overwhelmingly serious or utterly insurmountable that we absolutely cannot effectively overcome it. Life in the present day is demonstrably not as profoundly difficult or challenging as it was back in the 1960s. There's a movie called 1942. I've heard that many of you students really like watching it. Some of the everyday scenes in the film, after watching them, many people truly feel that life now is actually quite happy. If the very challenging living conditions of those people back then happened to us now, I'm afraid people might not even have the strength to go on living. Sometimes when people make comparisons, it's not always about aiming ever higher and higher, like wanting to drive a BMW or a Mercedes, or perhaps even insisting on being the absolute richest. Actually, nowadays, many people don't set their personal goals very far ahead into the future. To be completely honest, sometimes I truly feel that on the one hand nowadays, Confucian culture has disappeared in the Han regions, and even if it still existed, it's just a simple way of handling how to conduct oneself and interact with others in life. It doesn't have, like Christianity, any real consideration for the afterlife or for all of humanity as a whole. In a certain sense, we still deeply admire its philosophy. It places significant constraints on human behavior and actions. It teaches how to do good deeds and how to be a good person, how to be truly filial to one's parents and so on. These particular aspects are still quite good. But compared to the profound philosophy of Christianity, why is it that so many Western thinkers and even Nobel Prize winners, they think far ahead and possess a broader, more encompassing perspective? This is also deeply related to that. If you expand this concept even further, like in the profound teachings of Buddhism, where boundless compassion is extended to every single living being, including all animals. At this crucial point, all your previously resentful enemies have already become your closest friends. With this kind of philosophy, when it comes to trivial matters, you won't treat them as something especially significant, nor would you give up your most precious life for them. You absolutely wouldn't do that. So I think what is truly and most essentially needed in our schools right now, it is to have a comprehensive curriculum of love and compassion. A curriculum of love and compassion truly benefits our students in many significant ways. In the future, when they eventually go out into the wider world in precisely how they conduct themselves and interact effectively with others, including their active cooperation with many different people, there are truly tremendous and significant benefits in this particular regard. Otherwise, some students nowadays, after they successfully graduate, may indeed have impressive professional titles and good financial compensation, but in reality, when it comes to actually getting things done, everyone's family might have truly spoiled them very much at their homes as well, showing them special care. Many are only children, so with just a little bit of friction or even the slightest contact, they tend to completely lose their patience. This phenomenon regrettably includes some students in various schools, especially when they encounter even a small degree of misfortune, a moment of unhappiness, or any kind of pain. They lack the ability to face it, the ability to cope with it, and they immediately collapse, immediately fall apart. What is the reason for this? In fact, a person's mind is developed through training. Why is it that many athletes today, they actually weren't born so very talented, but through a period of extensive and dedicated repeated practice, after hundreds, thousands, even tens of thousands of such training sessions, their bodies gradually become much more flexible and agile, allowing them to move with remarkable ease and grace. In precisely the same manner, if our minds are extensively spoiled from a very young age, then when you eventually grow up, even the slightest, most insignificant problem you might encounter, you become incredibly fragile. Either you choose to become a contemplative monk, or you actively look for another, perhaps easier, way to cope with the difficulties. This is the kind of education that is most lacking in life today. So we strongly recommend that every school should have some courses on Buddhist studies, including meditation, as well as psychological counseling and mental well-being. In the long run, this will benefit students or benefit them in their daily lives, far more than ordinary worldly diplomas and the like. Actually, if we truly train ourselves in this way, human nature should be good. It is not evil. This is something we can say. Just like the ancient philosophers Confucius and Mencius in history, they firmly believed that human nature is inherently good. Later, Sun Tzu had a different view. He believed that human nature is fundamentally evil. He thought that what we call the good side is fake and hypocritical. But in fact, nowadays, some scientists in the UK and the US have repeatedly observed and conducted experiments. Through these experiments, they found that our original human nature should be good. How did they conduct these experiments? They used subjects who had not received any good or bad education. Some children, right after being born, are carefully raised in very special and controlled environments. After growing up, when they are about 18 months old, just as the child is able to stand up no matter which guest they encounter, if that guest accidentally drops something like a towel or a hat on the ground, when these children pick it up, they will certainly do their absolute best to carefully bring it back to the rightful guest. Through extensive and repeated research and meticulous observation, much like this, scientists now generally and widely believe that if human nature were truly and inherently evil, then it should manifest some kind of evil behavior. But this is not what happens. Therefore, it is widely and generally agreed that the true inherent nature of humanity is fundamentally good. So, if human nature is indeed good, in Buddhism itself, it is also profoundly said that all sentient beings inherently possess the Tathagatagarbha, which is a unique Buddhist term, meaning the essential Buddha nature. This innate goodness is truly present within every single sentient being. It's just that there are some occasional and sudden temporary obstacles that momentarily cover it up. In fact, our true nature should inherently be good. It's very much like the vast sky, which is pure and unstained, but sometimes there are clouds or other impurities covering it from our view. These impurities are not in line with the true nature of things. Earlier, I mentioned certain desires of the mind. These desires should all be completely destroyed. They have already disrupted the normal lives and mental states of many people. On the contrary, they have become a kind of emotion. This emotion brings us all kinds of suffering. If we have endless desires, then all the things we pursue, including material things, may not necessarily bring us satisfaction. In the Buddhist scriptures, the Buddha, I don't know if you have read them, there is one called the Sutra of the Buddha's Bequeathed Teachings. In the Sutra of the Buddha's Bequeathed Teachings, it says this: those who are not content are poor even if they are rich. Those who are truly content are rich indeed, even if they are poor. There is such a teaching, which means that if our hearts are truly filled with insatiable desire and we profoundly lack genuine contentment, then even if you are an individual of extreme wealth, possessing everything imaginable, much like a powerful dragon king with all kinds of precious possessions in abundant supply, your inner heart will still inevitably feel extremely poor. You always feel like you still truly need something more and are never completely satisfied. But if you truly have a heart of genuine contentment, then if you possess a sense of contentment, then even if you are penniless and have nothing, your spirit and your life can still be said to be very rich and fulfilling. Nowadays, it is often observed that some people are spiritually impoverished but are materially wealthy. Conversely, some people are materially poor but are profoundly and genuinely rich in spirit. So who are truly happy? Those who are spiritually rich are indeed very happy. In fact, sometimes you can clearly see this phenomenon, even in the city as well. Everyone is desperately searching for something meaningful. Sometimes when I go into the city, of course, it truly seems that this is my very first time coming to Suzhou in my entire life. In the past, people always said, above there is heaven, below there are Suzhou and Hangzhou. I thought, if there really is a second heaven on earth, I should go and see it, but I never had the chance. Many Buddhists invited me, but I never went. This time, I came here by chance, but after arriving, is it really comparable to heaven? Well, it's pretty close. I'm not quite sure about the happiness and sense of fulfillment of people from Suzhou. Actually, in any city, in any group of people, as long as you truly have a genuine sense of contentment, then everything in your life should indeed be perfectly fine. Some time ago, there was a practitioner, a Buddhist, who came from our very own local area. I've actually known him for 20 or even 30 years. And this was even before I myself became a monk. After he became a monk, his life became extremely simple every single time. Even if you offered him just a little something, if there was even a comfortable carpet in his room, he would feel it was too much and always worried about it. So he would just give it away to others. As long as he had a little food, that was enough for him. His entire life was truly like this, yet he was especially joyful and genuinely happy. In stark contrast, some individuals I personally know, although they possess everything in terms of material wealth, always feel profoundly poor inside and are very miserable indeed. That's exactly why nowadays people's desires are sometimes growing bigger and bigger. Take cities, for example. You see so many people driving cars. Now the roads are getting narrower. The number of cars is increasing and people's desires are growing ever larger. Having one car isn't enough for someone. They want to buy two. Even 2 cars aren't enough, so they want 3. If the opportunity arises, maybe even having 100 cars wouldn't feel like enough for one person. But when you don't have any, you think having just one single car would be enough to fully satisfy you. But when you actually get that one particular car, you feel absolutely nothing at all. When you didn't have it before, you truly thought having it would make you very, very happy. For example, when you didn't have a family before, you thought that if you had a family, your life would surely be the happiest and most fulfilling. Many students dream about this. Even in their dreams, it's like this. But in reality, when you do actually get such an opportunity in the future, you truly realize that it's actually not at all what you originally imagined it to be. You used to really think it would be something quite wonderful, but when you really get there, you wonder, how could it be so painful and troublesome? But this is profoundly related to our fundamental mindset. When your mindset is truly good, no matter what challenging situation you ultimately find yourself in, you will always feel that it is inherently beautiful. If your mindset is bad, then nothing will work out for you, no matter where you go. So this is probably something that exists specifically in your mental continuum regarding the image of any given thing. Different people see it and none of them have a fixed perception. If there were a fixed perception, for example, when we look at this beautiful bouquet of flowers, if there truly was something inherently and objectively beautiful about it, then everyone would readily recognize that it is truly beautiful. But from the profound perspective of the mental continuum in this world, there is absolutely nothing in it that is unchanging, no truly permanent goodness or inherently existent thing within it at all. If it does not possess such inherent existence, Buddhism precisely refers to this as emptiness. Because its very nature is inherently empty, everyone perceives and evaluates it quite differently. If its nature were truly inherently existent, then when this inherent existence appeared before everyone, we would all be able to see its original true nature clearly. So in today's society, I always feel that people often think that having money and high status is truly the happiest and best thing. Why is it then that nowadays, including many individuals in large cities, are desperately focusing their entire attention on this? I've met many college students, and it's the same for a lot of people, especially some individual students. When they reach around the age of 20, they have never even thought about what the philosophy of life is like, what philosophical principles are, or what the truth of the universe and all things is. Or when I have the opportunity in the future, how can I genuinely help those in need, give back meaningfully to society, and so on. Very few people indeed have dreams quite like these. Many people, including some young people, of course we can understand this, when they're young, many people think about how to look good, how to live happily, all for something very fleeting. In fact, no matter how good looking you are after a few decades, you'll end up looking just like any other unattractive old person. There's absolutely nothing substantial left. No matter how incredibly wealthy you are, in the very end, we've seen it in many news stories and detailed reports, and in the life experiences of countless people. There really are truly wealthy people who are incredibly rich and successful in the first half of their lives, but unfortunately end up in prison in the second half of their lives. This is the Buddhist teaching about impermanence. Many young people today really don't understand this. So, while young people's bodies may already be mature, but their young minds are indeed quite immature, and they simply don't fully realize these important things yet. When you reach your 50s or 60s, you'll understand. Back when you were still in school, you actually didn't truly spend time learning the knowledge you should have. Especially now, with the internet being so highly developed, many people often spend a lot of their time learning unnecessary things online. But the knowledge that is truly useful for your life, the knowledge Buddhism talks about, which is even beneficial for countless lifetimes. But if you don't consider this, then even the things that are truly useful to you in this very life, such as compassion and the genuine idea of helping others, many young people today haven't learned these things. That is precisely why their lives tend to be rather restless and quite unsettled. Where does this come from? It's because we haven't cultivated our minds properly. Our minds are completely like barren desert fields. They haven't been adequately nourished by the refreshing rain of wise and profound teachings, nor have truly good and virtuous seeds been carefully nurtured and allowed to flourish there. As a direct and unfortunate result, many people's minds are rather impoverished, desolate, and lacking in essential richness, you could certainly say. Nowadays, a significant number of people, including many students, live their daily lives without any consistent routine or structured schedule whatsoever. They often don't sleep properly. They spend virtually every single day online, and so on and so forth. Even when it comes to clothing, they constantly compare themselves to others. Actually, my suggestion is that while in college, students should dress decently but not extravagantly. As for food, since your body is still growing at this stage, if you have the means, you should eat healthier foods and pay more attention to nutrition. That's how it should be. But many people do the opposite, especially many female college students who would rather not eat well and instead spend their money on all sorts of things for personal decoration and their overall appearance. This is also a kind of waste. It shows that we haven't cleared away the garbage in our minds. I've heard that many college students bring a lot of stuff with them. They bring lots of clothes and lots of food too. Even their dorm rooms are messy and untidy. If your mind isn't clean, your living space won't be clean either. If your mind is pure, when I used to go to Thailand, many meditation masters' meditation halls were truly enviable. Why is that? Because their living quarters are very simple. The clothes they wear, their bedding, these are all very simple. And when they have their communal meal together, they only eat just once at noon. Actually, people should live like this. A simple life, simple clothing, that's already enough. But just as we mentioned earlier, we have too many unnecessary things. Once Socrates was in a department store and he said, "Look, there are so many things here that I don't need. I truly live a very happy life indeed." But we're not like that now. We need too many things. We want this, we want that. Maybe many of you want to buy this piece of clothing, want this thing, that thing. In this way, our desires grow, and we try to satisfy them with material things. If we try to fill the pit of our desires with material things, it becomes especially troublesome. If we use the greening of our minds to clear away all the things brought by external desires, all kinds of various junk food, junk clothing, and other everything else that truly counts as junk necessities, then your life will be clean and pure. Why is it that so many corrupt officials nowadays, in actual fact, they really aren't lacking in money? To be completely honest with you, they don't lack anything in terms of food, clothing, housing, or transportation. But a person still has so many desires. How many houses does one person need to buy? And so on. In the end, they themselves lose the right to live an ordinary person's life. So I think, whether you are a student or a teacher here today, Buddhism often teaches us to diligently use right knowledge and right mindfulness, to deeply reflect inwardly on our own minds. Although we live in this world, we absolutely shouldn't become some kind of strange oddity in the eyes of others at all. Nor should we refuse to keep up with the times in every way. That's not the case either. But we also can't act entirely according to our own desires. If we act based on the desires of other people, or our own personal desires, then life in this very existence, this earthly realm, will become an utterly exhausting and profoundly painful experience. Therefore, in our everyday lives, perhaps what we truly and deeply need is a sense of contentment, a genuine fulfillment and deep satisfaction within the very depths of our hearts. Only then can life truly become meaningful. Because I have always believed that happiness in life is intrinsically tied to our sense of inner contentment and deep personal satisfaction. In fact, the profound feeling of happiness is a sense of complete contentment. Recently, I saw in a lot of news reports that Lhasa in China, including Shanghai, Beijing, and many other significant cities for comparison. Among 38 cities, Lhasa is said to have the highest sense of happiness. It was the same in 2011, and this year, 2012, as well, Lhasa has been ranked the highest in the whole country for 6 consecutive years. Even when the National Bureau of Statistics conducted surveys and observations, they found that Lhasa's overall happiness index was indeed the highest. Of course, some news reports ask why the happiness index there is consistently so remarkably high. The main reasons are that people possess their own houses and enjoy certain living benefits and advantages. I truly think this could indeed be a part of the overall reason as well. But in my considered opinion, the most fundamental reason is that the Tibetan people in Lhasa all profoundly believe in Buddhism. To be completely honest, even when they encounter truly great pain and significant difficulties, they have the ability to face them. So I think the fundamental reason why Lhasa has the highest happiness index should be the mindset adjustment that comes from their Buddhist faith. Why is Bhutan one of the countries with the highest happiness index in the world? The primary reason is that everyone there diligently studies Tibetan Buddhism. It's exactly the same in Lhasa. If you continue to observe, including Qinghai, Gansu, Sichuan, and Yunnan, and indeed many other extensive areas where Tibetans predominantly live, they all consistently have this particular trait, except for a very small number of young people nowadays who no longer have faith in the cities. Apart from these individuals, the vast majority still deeply hold Buddhist beliefs, and those who have Buddhist beliefs do indeed possess their own inherent moral restraints and ethical boundaries. For example, when it genuinely comes to actively doing good and conscientiously avoiding evil, there are quite significant and notable differences that exist between us. Some time ago, we successfully held an important forum in a specific location. The primary focus of this significant forum was to thoroughly discuss AIDS prevention among various ethnic minorities. At that particular time, we carefully observed that Gansi Prefecture is indeed a Tibetan autonomous prefecture. Nearby is Liangshan Yi Autonomous Prefecture, which is mainly inhabited by the Yi ethnic group. Among the Yi people, AIDS has spread very severely. There are a lot of related news reports and online information. You've probably seen many of them. And Gansi Tibetan Autonomous Prefecture is their neighbor. There are no walls between them at all. But when we looked into it, we found that the Tibetans do not use illicit drugs. In many significant aspects of their behavior, they seem to possess a very high level of moral restraint and ethical conduct. It is only this wall. Other than that, there is no other reason. Economically speaking, both groups are ethnic minorities and are fundamentally quite similar. The climate and various other aspects should also be approximately the same. We are certainly not saying that one particular ethnic group is inherently better than another. However, every single ethnic group possesses some truly very good and fine traditions, or they have certain specific cultural values, and this kind of culture, if this inherent strength truly exists within each person's heart and can be effectively put to good use, then even when facing significant pain, they will certainly have the necessary ability to adequately cope with it. So, thinking back to when the devastating Yushu earthquake tragically occurred, I stayed there about 6 days. During that time, we encountered a significant number of patients who had unfortunately suffered greatly from the severe earthquake at that particular moment, including some patients' families and so on. But what was unprecedented was this. First, they didn't need any psychological comfort. Some people were the only ones left in their families. All the others had died in the earthquake, yet they themselves did not feel such overwhelming pain. I remember a very typical case. There was an elderly lady, probably in her 60s. While she was being treated and receiving medical attention in the temporary hospital, one of her feet had already been severely and tragically broken. Everyone in her immediate family, with the sole exception of herself, had tragically perished and died. But she had a smile on her face, holding prayer beads and chanting sutras the whole time. So I specifically asked her about it. I said, "I heard that everyone in your family has passed away. What will you do now?" She replied, "It's absolutely nothing, really. As a dedicated practitioner, birth, aging, sickness, and ultimately death are all an intrinsic part of life. Everything is truly impermanent. If everything is impermanent, then phenomena like this are bound to happen." At that very moment, I truly and profoundly felt it. I had diligently studied Buddhism ever since I was quite young and continued to deeply research its teachings as I gradually grew older. But I thought to myself, if something truly significant like this were to happen to me, would I be able to handle it? Could I reach the same state of mind as that elderly lady? I have indeed reflected on myself. So, to everyone here, I want to say, our lives can't always be smooth and peaceful, free from trouble. It's truly impossible to never encounter any significant difficulties. Life is absolutely bound to have its inevitable ups and downs. All kinds of unfortunate disasters and profound suffering will inevitably arise. When you experience such intense pain, pain is pain, happiness is happiness. Everyone knows this, but if you can find joy in your survival, even amidst suffering, and when you are happy, you remain humble, and are still able to genuinely notice those around you and truly care for those who are in need, that is indeed the behavior of a truly wise person. So I think that the careful cultivation of the mind is very important for many people. If you truly have a profound and abiding sense of contentment in your heart, and always, as Buddhism often wisely says, go with the flow. Actually, on the surface, going with the flow seems like a rather ordinary phrase. But in fact, when it comes to our daily lives, it is actually a deeply profound and significant teaching. No matter what the specific situation may be, if you truly have this profound sense of going with the flow, it is impossible to feel truly miserable. Some people might think, if you truly go with the flow like this, does that genuinely mean that Buddhism is very passive? Like some people might say, seeing through everything, not caring about your children, your family, making money, or anything at all, that this is a kind of passivity. Absolutely not. From every spiritual aspect, Buddhism is actually very proactive. Moreover, we do not advocate any laziness, slackness, or escapism. All negative emotions are completely discouraged, and true Buddhist practitioners, in their actions, their speech, and their thoughts, you will truly find their inherent courage and deep wisdom. Therefore, I genuinely think, whether through some of Buddhism's core concepts of boundless compassion or the concept of being truly content with less and having fewer worldly desires, to regularly and mindfully observe your own inner mind. In this particular and unique way, your mind will gradually experience a truly profound and deep happiness. This special kind of happiness cannot ever be taken away by anyone, nor can anyone possibly steal it from you. Consequently, no one can ever make you suffer. This profound happiness should therefore be very enduring and lasting. There is no one here who does not long for happiness. And this kind of happiness is also very lasting. Right now, perhaps the happiness you experience in the world is only temporary. If you go to a less civilized place to seek pleasure, it may give you a quick and intense stimulation for a short while. But after a little while, it actually has truly significant and profound side effects on your mind and body. However, if we possess a true and authentic form of education or a comprehensive way to effectively train the mind so that you can attain happiness, then it is the safest and most reliable way. If everyone in the world can truly experience this kind of profound happiness, then even when you encounter the sufferings of life, such as birth, aging, sickness, death, or the pain of separation from loved ones, no matter what kind of suffering you face, you will be able to confront it calmly. There are many wonderful stories about this in Buddhism. I'm not really here to preach to you or to simply advertise anything at all. I'm not truly saying how particularly wonderful Buddhism is indeed, or that if all of you take refuge each of you will gain something specific. I don't have such intentions, but I truly feel a responsibility to tell everyone that in fact there is indeed a wonderful remedy available in this world. Right now, there are many people whose minds are truly impoverished and significantly lacking in this particular regard. They are in great and urgent need of this spiritual remedy. Without it, even if you personally owned the entire material world by yourself, you absolutely wouldn't necessarily live a truly happy and fulfilling life. I've personally met some truly wealthy business owners, individuals who each possess vast fortunes amounting to tens of billions of yuan. But in all my interactions with them, I could never truly find it, that profound sense that this immense wealth genuinely brought them immense and lasting happiness in their lives. From the perspective of an ordinary, especially from the mindset of someone who really loves money, if someone has 10 billion or even just 1 billion, they must be extremely happy, laughing out loud every day, and wouldn't have the slightest bit of suffering. Some people might think this way, but when you actually possess that kind of wealth and status, in reality, they're still frowning and troubled, unable to sleep at night. Why is it that so many Chinese people are buying sleeping pills these days? Why is that market performing so well? Many individuals, because their lives are often restless and quite painful, truly need to use these medications both day and night. So I think that wealthy people might be buying even more of them. So is your money truly and genuinely the ultimate source of profound happiness? If it doesn't bring you any real happiness and doesn't significantly benefit society in any meaningful way, then what exactly is the true and inherent value of a person possessing such considerable wealth? Many people will understand this, and after that, if we can truly find the profound and lasting source of our happiness deeply within ourselves, then our life is also incredibly blessed, and our minds truly need this essential loving nurturing. That's why I often see many teachers at school. When they teach courses related to the mind, I really admire them and rejoice for them. Why? Because so many people need this now. If you don't receive this kind of education when you're young, it's indeed hard to say whether you'll acquire it after leaving school. In the future, you will eventually become people with fame, wealth, and status. At that time, the most truly important thing, I think, is to care about society. Nowadays, many people, from morning till night, from childhood to adulthood, are always thinking about themselves. At most, you might think about your own family and relatives. Other than that, you hardly ever think about the people around you. There are fewer and fewer people who care about the whole world and society. This is a kind of selfish mindset. In fact, any selfish mindset will not lead to a very bright or promising outcome. A truly selfless and genuinely altruistic heart will undoubtedly bring forth a radiant light that can illuminate the entire world. I think I'll stop here for today, all right?